what is the three angels' message and why do Adventists make such a big deal about it? Are Adventists guilty, as some think, of picking a few questionable verses out of Revelation and making way too big of a deal about them? That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Happy New Year! If we haven't met before, I'm Matthew, and this is the Peoria Adventist channel, which is all about showing Seventh-day Adventism to internet people. You're an internet person, I'm an internet person, and specifically, we represent the Adventism that lives and works and plays in Peoria, Illinois. Now, I'm excited about the topics we're going to cover in 2022. We're going to do more digital seminary videos and more veggie meat stuff, and I'm looking forward to our chicken nugget showdown in February, largely because I get to eat all of those chicken nuggets.
Oh, yeah.
It's all for science. But first, we're going to have this brand new series on the three angels' messages and why these are so important to Adventists and why other Christians should pay attention to them as well. These messages are actually found in Revelation 14, verses 6 through 12, and chances are most Christians barely pay any attention to them as they read Revelation because, well, Revelation is a weird place, kind of like Reddit.
I don't know. Is this like a biking train? Little Jew hat?
And also like Reddit, it's not always clear what Revelation is talking about. Now, to say that Adventists make a big deal about these verses is kind of an understatement because it is one of the 2 or maybe 3 places in Revelation where Adventists have absolutely staked their identity. One of the other ones being Revelation chapter 10. Now, Adventists believe that all Christians are called to proclaim these messages in the last days, and this is what we all, as Christians, should be talking about. So let's talk about what the messages actually say. The first angel says, "Fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the springs of water." Now, the second angel announces that Babylon has fallen, and the third angel declares that anyone who receives the mark of the beast will receive the wrath of God. So, it's the stuff of Christmas cards. Some Christians think that Adventists treat the three angels' message as a kind of substitute for the gospel, right? Like, why is this your message? You should be proclaiming the gospel like everybody else. But verse 6 tells us that these angels have the eternal gospel, which they are proclaiming to the entire world. And this is the only time that the gospel is called eternal, and the only time that John ever uses the word. And I think John's purpose here is to make sure that we understand that this gospel that he's talking about here in Revelation 14 is the same as the gospel that Jesus brought us, the same gospel that Paul preached. Good news is always good news. So whatever is going on here has to be part of the overarching gospel message we see in the New Testament. It is, as Adventists understand it, simply a form of the gospel that needs to go out in the context of the last days. Okay? What does that mean? It means that the Bible is full of messages, and the trick is to figure out which one is relevant to which situation. In Exodus 14, God told the Israelites, "Do not be afraid, stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today." But in Joshua 8, God says, "Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, take the whole army with you and go up and attack Ai." So sometimes God wants us to stand back and watch, and sometimes he wants us to go forward. And the trick is in knowing when God wants us to stand back and when God wants us to go forward. And this is how Adventists see the three angels' message. In the context of the impending apocalypse, these three angels carry gospel messages that are tailored for their specific time in history. And you cannot possibly separate these messages from that context. In Revelation chapter 12, we see the dragon, or Satan, trying to kill Jesus. And when he fails, because the devil's a loser, he goes after this woman and the rest of her children, whom we are told keep the commandments of God and have the faith of Jesus. In Revelation 13, the dragon steps back and unleashes 2 beasts onto the world stage. And these beasts work miracles to persuade people to worship the dragon. Anyone who isn't persuaded is persecuted. It is bleak. It is hopeless. Revelation 13 is not the playground at McDonald's. And that's why God sends these three angels in chapter 14, to warn the world that they shouldn't be too worried about the beasts or even the dragon. Why? Well, the first angel reminds us that God's judgment has come, so don't fear the beast's judgment. The second angel reminds us that Babylon, this false civilization which is opposed to God, is fallen, so don't be afraid of her. And the third angel tells everyone that anyone who receives the beast's mark will also receive the wrath of God. And all three of these angels aim to change the calculus here. What do I mean by that? Okay. The initial calculus is, well, gee, these beasts have power, and if I don't go along with them, they might hurt me. There isn't much to consider there, right? Like, I don't want to be hurt. But the angels change this by interjecting the reality of God. Yeah. These beasts have power, and if I don't go along with them, they might hurt me. But if I do go along with them, I might be lost to God forever. Now I have a real choice for the first time. Am I more afraid of the beasts or of disappointing God? Now, this seems like a really terrible choice, because why appeal to fear? Well, this is what Jesus did when he said, "Do not be afraid of those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Rather, be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell." Well, that's the basic message here in Revelation, right? Don't fear the beast, fear God. Well, how is that good news? Because when you fear God, when you are most concerned about this most important relationship with him, then you will find that there's nothing else in the world that you ever need to be afraid of. It's the fear of God that liberates us from all other fears. And I think that's God's point here. The beasts don't deserve your worship. God alone is creator. And the beasts, the things that they're doing are doomed to failure. So don't go along with them. Don't fear their threats. Rather, fear God, because his judgment on the beasts is about to happen. And that is good news, because God's warning gives people an option. The beasts want you to think that you either obey them or you get hurt, which presents a false moral choice, as if the moral universe only consists of the beast and these people. But God says, actually, back here, I'm here too, and the beasts are going to lose, so if you want to win, stick with me. Why? Because I created you, I gave you life, and all they've ever done is destroy life. So in the most basic form, these three angels' messages is a word to the world to stay loyal to God, no matter what the dragon dazzles you with or threatens you with. But you still may be wondering, how is this the gospel? Well, because the good news of Jesus is not just that he freed us from sin, it's that God will defeat sin. And that's what we see happening in Revelation. For the world to be made new, evil itself, evil which appears to reign supreme on the earth, evil on earth acting as God, demanding worship or else, must be vanquished. And that is good news. It means if you live with a Hitler, for example, who seemed to have Europe in an iron fist, you can look at him and say, but you've already lost. You just don't know it yet. I don't have to be afraid of you. And that's it. This is the basic message Adventists believe Christians are meant to be proclaiming in these last days. And we're going to start going through the first angel's message in our next video.